Welcome to Groups This Week. As a church, we exist to help all people become fully devoted followers of Jesus. We believe doing life together is a crucial part of that journey. During this time, we're going to unpack and dig deeper into the sermon we heard this past week. Let's dive in as we continue to grow in our faith, knowledge, and love of Jesus together. Hey, well, welcome groups. This past week, we were in week 4 of our series, 7 Sayings on the Cross, looking at a big topic. My God, why have you forsaken me? And David, you preached this text at Mariner in the morning and the evening.
Yes, with fear and trembling.
It's a hard one.
It's a very hard one, yeah.
Could you maybe read the passage that you preached from this Sunday, just to frame our time here?
Yeah, it shows up twice in the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Mark. Also, I'll read it from the Gospel of Mark. So it's Mark chapter 15, beginning in verse 33. And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders, hearing it, said, oh, behold, he is calling Elijah. And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink, saying, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down.
All right. Well, David.
Pretty straightforward, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, like an easy one for you, right? But what does this mean that, like, the Son was forsaken by the Father, or at least he believed that he was forsaken by the Father? Yeah,
I mean, this passage is just soaked in mystery. It really is. And it's one of those passages that I feel like we're on the outside and just peeking into a great mystery. Mm-hmm. But in some mysterious way, the Son experienced, and this is a great word I introduced, is the word dereliction.
What's that?
A dereliction means forsakenness, abandonment, to be completely cut off. And it's interesting because Jesus on the cross, if you read all the other sayings of Jesus, he always refers to God as my Father, my Father. Mm-hmm. My Father and I are one. May they be one as you, Father, and are in me and I am in you. It's always this picture of unity and intimacy. And here you get Jesus on the cross saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? Refers to the Father as God. Now, still my God, but there's something that's taking place at this moment that is a great mystery. And the church for 2,000 years has wondered at this great mystery. Because in some strange way, in the strange glory, the Son experienced utter forsakenness from the Father. He experienced the greatest depth of separation from God that a person could experience. We read in Galatians 3:13. Yeah, 3:13. Yeah, in Galatians 3:13 about Paul talking about cursed, that Jesus became a curse for us, and we read that, and he's quoting the Old Testament where it says, "Cursed is the one who hangs on a tree." And in some mysterious way, Jesus took on the greatest depth of the curse of our humanity that sin has brought about.
Wow.
And he takes it upon himself.
Wow, that's crazy. And there's so much theology in this. And I think I kind of grew up hearing in certain circles that the Trinity is fractured in this moment. Would you agree with that? Or what do you think? It's a big question.
Yeah, I guess we'll know one day. I don't think so. I don't think the Trinity's fractured. I don't think there's a break in God's very being. But there's certainly an experience that Jesus had on the cross, more than an experience, but he went through utter forsakenness. And, in that old, it's not an old, it's a newer chorus, where it says the Father turned
His face
away. I think Jesus experienced that utter forsakenness, the sense of dereliction, abandonment on the cross. And in doing so, experiences the very depth of the consequence of our sinfulness. Well, and then we know that Paul himself, in 2 Corinthians, says these words. He writes these words. He says, in 2 Corinthians 5:21, he says, "For our sake, he made him to be sin, who knew no sin, that in him we might become the righteousness of God." Somehow Jesus became sin. He knew no sin, but he became sin. He became the very one on which God's righteous wrath was poured out.
Wow.
Now you have to get, and this is where you can go. There's so many places where you can fall off into heresy on this one.
We were talking about
Yeah, it's really easy. It's not like the Father just laying this out on this innocent son and he's just a victim. It's the Father and the Son.
He's willing.
Yes, are colluding. They're in this together to bring about our rescue, our forgiveness, that we might become the righteousness of God. Like it's an incredible mystery. But the Father and the Son are working together, and Jesus experiences utter forsakenness, utter abandonment for our sake, so that we have hope.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing love displayed.
Yes,
Holy.
amazing love. How can it be
Yeah.
that thou, my God, shouldst die for me? Yes.
There's all these song lyrics coming up.
Oh yeah. Charles Wesley's
Yeah.
just...
Chris Tomlin with the
don't put Chris Tomlin with Charles Wesley.
Shows my era,
That's okay.
Not that Charles Wesley shows yours, but
That's right.
well, David, maybe the next question is it's kind of confusing how we see Jesus say these words and then the bystanders are like, is he calling on Elijah? What's this all about? What's going on here?
That's a really interesting passage. I had to kind of do a little bit of research on it. I read that in the intertestamental period, there was a growing sense that if the Messiah were to come, that somehow with his coming would be the appearance of Elijah. And maybe in this sense, it was the sense that Elijah, the prophet, would come and rescue the Messiah from the cross. And so, but the bystanders are misunderstanding what they're hearing, because what Jesus is saying, he's saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? But, in the midst of, the darkness and all that's going on, people misunderstand what Jesus is saying, and they think that he's calling upon Elijah, but he's not. He's calling, my God, my God.
Yeah, good clarification.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think just really practically, how does this passage challenge us to respond? How does this apply?
Well, this is where there's no end to plumbing the depths of this mystery. I often will talk to people who will say, they're experiencing tremendous suffering, and they're crying out for God, and they feel dereliction, they feel abandoned, they feel alone. And I think what this passage teaches us is that there's no sense of forsakenness that we can experience that God does not understand and experience. So the God we worship is not like Buddha. He's not on some cloud with his eyes half closed and a wisp of, a smile on his face, oblivious to the suffering of this world. In fact, within Buddhism, suffering in this world is all Maya, it's all an illusion, it's all a result of our over-attachment. What this teaches us is that the God we worship understands suffering in the deepest sense, and that when you and I experience suffering, he is right with us. Yeah, he's right there, and I think that transforms. It transforms what we experience, because we know even though we walk through the darkest valley, we're not alone.
Yeah.
He's with us.
Wow.
I think that's, I mean, there's many other takeaways, but that's a huge takeaway.
It's like just even within that 24-hour period, like he's abandoned by his friends, he's betrayed by Judas, and then he's like forsaken, abandoned by his heavenly Father.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Well, we'll leave you guys to discuss more about this text.
Keep going, have fun with this one. This is a great mystery, but
Absolutely.
it's a wondrous mystery.
Yeah.
It's a wondrous mystery. So, yeah, just in your groups, just have fun plumbing the depths of this mystery. Yeah.
We'll see
Let
you
me know
next
what
week.
you come up with.
Thanks, David.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed the teaching today. If you're wanting to follow along with our community group's discussion guide with your group, you can head to cachurch.ca/media, where you can find the discussion guide. Not only are there questions there related to the sermon, but there's also prayer prompts that relate to the passage or the topic that we were talking about, and practices that you can, on an individual level or a group level, begin integrating into your life to not only bring this knowledge into your mind, but to begin living it out.